Hello and welcome to our delayed broadcast of round 3 of the 2024 Track Stars Touring Car Series, where we'll be bringing you all of the action from the Sardegna 250, of course at the Sardegna Road Track A layout. After taking on the bit longest layout on the calendar at the Nürburgring in round 1, and then the fastest circuit of the season at Monza for round 2. Round 3 sees the Track Stars Touring Car Series take on the newest circuit in the 10-year history of the series as the Sardegna layout makes its series debut. The new layout will present a challenge for teams and drivers as they try and get acclimated with the new stop on the calendar. This means we could potentially see a shake-up in the order as some teams and drivers get to grips with this layout easier than others. The consistent results of Justin Ladaway in our opening 2 rounds of the series see him establish an early lead in the 2024 Drivers' Championship. That being said, we are in the early stages of the championship, and drivers like Green and Campbell for CP Motorsports and Mash Spuds Racing team boss Nicholas Patasso, who was very fast last time out at Monza, will all have their sights set on the championship lead. In the Teams Championship, Kiwi Pit Lane Sim Racing have continued their strong start to the season to lead the way, with CP Motorsports and Mash Spuds Racing both waiting in the wings to capitalise on any misfortune that may occur. Our defending champion Ridwan Hamza was our winner last time out at Monza as he recovers from a DNF in round 1 of the championship at the Nürburgring. Another strong result from him here will be needed if he wants to vault himself further up the championship leaderboard. My name is Jarman Dell. It's a pleasure to be here with you to bring you all the action here for the Sardegna 250 as we get into our broadcast. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell, make sure that you're reminded of any streams upcoming here on the Track Stars Racing Series YouTube channel. Of course, as we get closer to the start of our race here tonight, let's take a quick look at the circuit that our drivers will be racing on here for round 3 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. Of course, it is the Sardegna 250 here at the Sardegna Road Track A layout. The track, of course, is 5.113 kilometres in length, 15 corners around this circuit, the longest straight. Of course, our main straight being 700 metres. Just the one race here tonight, 49 laps in distance, and a total of 250.5 kilometres in this race. And of course, no previous winner here in the championship, seeing as it is a brand new circuit to the Track Stars Touring Car Series here in 2024. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to get some qualifying highlights with some technical difficulties due to our feed, but we can bring you the results from our qualifying session here for round number 3 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. It was Ian Ward taking pole position for MC Motorsport in the number 7 Nissan GTR with a lap time of 1 minute 33.625. And less than a tenth separating the first 3 drivers, and with Nicholas Patasso joining Ward on the front row by 5 thousandths of a second, and then just 65 hundredths of a second, or 65 thousandths of a second actually, for Scott in 3rd place for WTC Racing. Ryan Palmer for It's FR Racing just outside 1/10 of a second away from pole position. He'll line up on the outside of row 2. Then it's our defending champion Hamza and our series leader Ladaway on row number 3. Sandwith and Scott rounding out row number 4 and the first page of our qualifying results. As we jump over to page 2, Green and Lashbrook rounding out top 10 in row number 5. And it's Von Duve, Westlake in 11th and 12th. And then rounding out our field, Atkinson, the last of the drivers, 13 out of 14 drivers within a second of pole position. And then Campbell rounding out the field just over a second off the pole position time, so very close in the qualifying times between all drivers here at Sardegna. Now, unfortunately, we did have a bit of a red flag situation due to a mass disconnection 20 laps into our race, so we will be picking up our coverage from the restart on lap 21 of the race. So we'll jump across right now and join the action here for the remaining 29 laps of the Sardegna 250. So at the point of the restart, it was Hamza leading the way from Patasso, Ward, Scott, Atkinson, and then Lashbrook and Green. So we get underway again here, 29 laps to go. It is Hamza that leads the way into turn 1 as they head through single file on the restart. Looks like a bit further back, Atkinson and Lashbrook fighting it out for 6th place. Lashbrook going to the inside, going a bit more defensive on Green though, as Green just tries to make his way through and make his way up the order a bit here. As we head to the sweeping left-hand hairpin out in front of the cathedral there. And a long run down the sweeping back straight, twisting and weaving its way towards a tight first gear hairpin as Green now goes on the defensive there from Palmer. Palmer trying to go around the outside, just catches the grass there a little bit and has a compromised exit, and now he's coming under pressure from Fonduve here in the Lexus. As we sweep through the chicane, Green off the track going defensive, Palmer looking for a run down the inside. Green going very defensive, forcing Palmer to go to the outside. A bit of a bump there forces Palmer off the road. So plenty of action here in the first lap of the restart here for the final 29 laps of Sardegna 250. Green diving into pit lane, and he is down in 13th place. It looks like we have a driver missing from the restart. We'll try and work out who that is in due course. Meanwhile, it is Hamza leading the way from Patasso. Patasso desperate for another win here in the Trackstars Touring Car Series. He came oh so close last time out at Monza in the second race. Unfortunately, a late race mistake saw him drop down the order to 4th place. Meanwhile, our pole sitter is currently running in 3rd place. And then just a bit further back, it is Scott and Scott. A bit of a tongue twister there with last names. Very similar sounding between the two drivers. And Scott still holding on to 4th place there. Meanwhile, Nick Scott doing a great job here. Up inside the top 5. Certainly these longer races are the ones he seems to excel at a bit more over the sprint races that we have on parts of our calendar. You certainly see Scott take a more smooth and consistent approach to his racing, and more often than not you find him jumping up to the pointy end of the leaderboard later in the race as other drivers fall by the wayside, maybe pushing a bit too hard. So we do have a nice little battle here, a nice little battle pack at least for 4th place. Lashbrook now closing up to the back of Scott here for 5th place. He'll eagerly be looking for a spot inside the top 5. And just up ahead, of course, We do have Ward and Pitasso fighting it out for the final places on the podium. Meanwhile, just a bit further back, places on the back end of the top 10. Of course, Nico Westlake doing a fine job there in 8th place. Hasn't had the best run in the opening 2 rounds, but certainly looks to be making an improvement here at Sardegna. He's running just ahead of our American representative here in the Trackstars Touring Car Series in Matt Campbell. And then Ryan Palmer, who was recovering from that incident earlier on in our restart here. So it looks like Ladderway has dropped off here as well. And I believe the other one is Sandwich that wasn't in the restart. So Sandwich is a DNF here from this race. And Ladderway has just dropped out as well. So that'll be a very big blow to the Kiwi pit lane sim racing lead in the team's championship, as well as Ladderway's lead in the championship as well. So that will play into the hands of the likes of Green, Campbell, Pitasso and Ward. But at the moment you would say that Ward and Pitasso are probably in the box seat here to fight out for the championship lead at the end of round 3. But up in front it is Hamza who continues to lead the way. Ward has made a move there on Pitasso to get into 2nd place. With Pitasso running out our top 3. And Pitasso now just coming under a bit of pressure here from Ando Scott. So Ando now looking for a place inside the top 3. Certainly tough to know where to direct our attention here in these opening stages here. Certainly got a nice little battle pack forming here from 2nd all the way down to 6th place. Then you have the likes of Westlake and Atkinson down in 7th and 8th there, just getting a bit close there in the background. Another potential battle for position there just behind us. So we see Westlake making a move down the inside of Atkinson for 7th. Atkinson looking for a way back through with a switchback. But Westlake covers it off beautifully and now goes on a bit of a defensive to try and hold on to that 7th place. Atkinson certainly not giving up the battle for this spot, as Nico continues to defend here. He does get a good run there out of our sweeper and on the run down the back straight. Into the turn 9 hairpin. He does hold on to that position. Now he's sort of starting to establish himself there in that 7th place. Keeps it clean through to chicane. Atkinson does close up again into the final corner. Well, the penultimate corner. This is probably what you'd consider the final corner. And he has got a good run in the slipstream of Westlake here down the main straight. But will he be close enough to make an attempt at a pass? Doesn't appear that way. Jump a bit further up the order. Check back in on this battle here for the podium places. Hamza still leading the way from Ward. Den Patasso in 3rd place. But Ando Scott just behind in 4th position. And then Nick Scott in 5th and Chris Lashbrook in 6th place. All very much in the battle for the podium positions here tonight. So this battle pack has just spread out a little bit here. Certainly doesn't appear to be any drivers that you would say are in striking distance of making an overtake. You'd say you'd have to wait for a bit of a mistake to have an opportunity. So take a bit of a look further down the order. Campbell sitting in 9th place at the moment. Von Duve now inside the top 10. Palmer has dropped off the pace there a fair bit. He's down in 11th. Not sure if he has made it. Doesn't look like he's made a pit stop, but it does look like he's made a mistake there at some point. And then Green nearly going close to being a lap down on the field here. After that forced pit stop on lap 1, it looks like he's had another tour to the pit lane here on lap number 7. And there we see in the background the last runner on the track in green, just up ahead in the distance from our race leader of Ridwan Hamza. Well, the scoreboard does say lap 9 of 29. It is effectively lap 29 of 49 here in this race. Of course, with those 20 laps completed before the red flag was called and the restart taking place with 29 laps remaining. So Hamza just holding a comfortable margin there over Ward. Would say it has slightly closed up a little bit, but nothing too drastic at the moment, as Hamza now setting a personal best. That being said, Ward does own the fastest lap of the race at the moment, as he is on a mission to hunt down the race leader. So this time around 134.6 for Ward, 133.8 for Hamza. So Hamza has responded here to the gap closing in and has decided to step on it and re-establish some of that gap. However, just looking at the screens here, I think the fastest driver out of that group of 6 cars was Nicholas Patasso, so plenty of space shown there in the number 32 Mash Spuds Racing Lexus. As we just cross over the line, 10 laps complete in this second part of the race. 19 laps remaining here in the Sardegna 250. It certainly appears this is one of those sort of hybrid style street circuits that we see that are commonplace nowadays in motor racing. Of course, we do have the street layout here in the back section of the circuit. Looks to very much use the public roads. But as we get closer towards the end of the lap, and onto the main straight, you'll see the drivers go onto a permanent race layout as we just see Ward go for a bit of a spin there through the chicane, and he has now dropped outside of the top 5 here in the Sardegna 250. Be interesting to see, has he picked up any damage? It looks like he has, as he now dives into the pit lane. So tyres, fuel and some repairs for Ward. He now rejoins the race in 8th place. Just ahead of Ryan Palmer in the second It's FR Racing entry, who is closely followed by Lewis Atkinson in 10th place. Von Duve just making a trip to the pit lane. Looks like he has done fuel and some repairs as well, and possibly tyres too, and he rejoins the race in 11th. So you just see green there with the fastest lap last time around, so although he's gone close to being a lap down, he is showing there is plenty of pace there in the CP Motorsports Nissan GTR. Hamza still leads the way. Endo Scott now making his pit stop in the WTC Racing Lexus RCF. Fresh set of tyres, refueling. Not sure if there will be any damage to repair. Looks like he's skipped the damage repair part, which is a blessing for him. And he is on his way ahead of the likes of Ward, Palmer, Atkinson and Von Duve. He rejoins in 7th place. Of course, one of the big benefactors of Ward's incident just before will of course be Nicholas Patasso here in the number 32. He jumps up into 2nd place as a result of that incident. And with the pace that he was showing a few laps ago, maybe he can look like maybe challenging for a place, well, for the lead of the race. All depending on how long he can sustain the speed he has at the moment. So 33.8 last time for Patasso, 33.9 for Humza, so very evenly matched as we now see Nick Scott, Chris Lashbrook and Nico Westlake all jumping into pit lane for their pit stops. So fresh set of tyres for Lashbrook and Scott, likewise for Westlake, and now they refuel. So Lashbrook going for a little less fuel than what Scott has gone for. So Scott and Lashbrook rejoin ahead of Ward, who of course had to do some damage repairs on that pit stop. So Scott rejoining inside the top 5. Campbell yet to pit, likewise for Patasso and Humza. As we begin to approach the halfway point of this second part of the race. It would be interesting to see. Humza looks like he's diving the pit lane, so he's going for the split strategy. Spreading the wear on the tyres. I thought that Patasso might have gone for a longer run, as that is something that he likes to do, but looks like Patasso has followed Humza into pit lane. So both drivers going for the even split on their tyres. And now Matt Campbell, who has yet to pit in this race, now assumes the lead of the motor race. So Campbell will be the one that looks to go long. Given that we have already had a red flag here earlier on, there is a bit of a strategic element to extending your stint here and pitting as late as possible. Of course, this does leave Campbell in the lead of the race, and should there be any disconnection from here on in, then he would be left in the lead of the race. Of course, you can probably gather how this is going to play out, considering we are bringing you the coverage from this replay. So I think it's safe to say that the plan doesn't quite come off. And Campbell now dives into pit lane, so he makes his stop at the end of lap 15. So he goes a lap past halfway point, or half a lap past the halfway point, you could say, as it is an odd number of laps here remaining. So Campbell will get his tyre change done. And it looks like Scott has completed the undercut here on Patasso, as he has rejoined the race in second place. Patasso rejoining in third, then it's Scott in fourth. Lashbrook, our substitute driver here for Mash Spuds Racing, of course, replacing Crestdale for this week. He is inside the top 5, securing valuable points here for Mash Spuds Racing in the team's championship. So feel a little bit spread out here after the pit stops. So Ward in 6th place, Westlake 7th, Palmer in 8th. Campbell comes out in 9th after his pit stop. And then it's Von Duve rounding out top 10, Green in 11th. Looks like we have lost another driver. That, I believe, is the second Kiwi pit lane sim racing entry of Atkinson, so that will be a double DNF for the KPL team, who were leading the team's championship heading into this round, but with a double DNF they certainly won't be exiting Sardinia with the team's championship lead. So a double blow there for both KPL and Justin Ladaway in the teams and drivers championships, as they will lose both leads in the championship. We'll likely see a new series leader at this stage, looking like it'll be Nicholas Patasso in the MSR number 32 Lexus. So at this stage, we usually do go on board with the race leader as we reach the midway point. But I think for something a little bit different, we might ride on board with our substitute driver here in Chris Lashbrook as we take on a lap of the Sardegna Road Track A layout here in the number 11 Mash Spuds Racing Lexus RCF. So there you have it, a lap of Sardegna Road Track A layout there with Chris Lashbrook, one of our front-running drivers in the Track Stars TS2 Touring Car Series this year. Currently sitting second in that championship and inside the top 5 here with his substitute performance here for Mash Spuds Racing. Meanwhile, a bit further up the field, his teammate for the weekend in Pitasso has now closed the gap into second place runner of Ando Scott. And last time around, the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 33.080, ever so close to dipping inside the 1 minute 32s, but more importantly, right on the tail of Scott now, as he attempts to take second place from the WTC racing driver, and crucially earn himself an extra 20 championship points here in the championship battle as he enters this main straight right on the tail of Scott here. Can he get in the slipstream and make a move into turn 1? Doesn't look like the Mash Spuds Racing team owner was quite close enough that time around. But we have now crossed into 10 laps remaining here in the Sardegna 250. It is Hamza with a comfortable margin at the moment, leading the way in the number 1. It's FR Racing Nissan GTR. And then just a little bit behind him, 2 of the leading Lexus teams in Mash Spuds Racing and WTC Racing fighting it out for second place. And some crucial championship points. Pitasso possibly with his fastest lap last time around, well, 2 laps ago now. He could possibly have his sights set on trying to chase down Hamza. But before he can do that, he does have to get around this number 787 of Ando Scott. He does look marginally closer this time around. And it certainly shows in the effect he's getting in the slipstream, but still not quite close enough to make him battle, or make a play for second place here. Might be another lap before he can get around the WTC Racing Lexus of Scott. As he was all over the back of Scott there through turns 4 and 5. And now on the run towards turn 9. Certainly closer this time around. Not close enough to make a move into turn 9. But certainly sitting very close behind him. Now to run through this fast chicane. He is glued to the back of Scott, but still no overtake happening here. But he is right on his tail this time around. I'd certainly anticipate that a pass will be made here, as we get a run to the start-finish line, tick over onto lap 22 of 29 here in the Sardegna 250. Pitasso all over the back of Scott, looking for a move into second place. Scott goes on the defensive. Pitasso tries to go around the outside. I think he's got the job done here. Yes, he does. So Pitasso gets the move done around the outside into second place. Manages to hold on and gain the inside for that little kink at turn number 2, which does give him the advantage. So Pitasso now up in the P2, already building a gap here. The fastest first sector of the race here, going purple there by just over a tenth of a second. He can see Hamza just ahead in the distance, But will it be a gap too far for him to overcome here in the closing stages of the Sardegna 250? I did say Pitasso had built a little bit of a gap there, but that had just decreased a little bit. Looks like Scott has dragged it back in a little bit. And is certainly not going to give up on this battle for second. Certainly not throwing in the towel and sitting back. Don't think he will be close enough to make a move in any way, but he's certainly going to stick around, put the pressure on Pitasso, and hope that he makes a mistake that could hand him back second place here in the race. So last time round was 33.35 for Pitasso, 33.2 for Hamza. So Hamza just building a little bit of a, or 1/10 of a second over Pitasso that time around. Pitasso does have the fastest lap of the race, but can he put these times in consistently enough to close in the gap and challenge for the race win here in the closing stages? He's certainly lighting up the timing charts with purple sectors, although that little drop off into the grass certainly won't be helping his lap time there. So this time around, another 33.3 from Pitasso, 33.7 from Hamza. So Hamza 0.4 of a second slower. So we do have 6 laps remaining here, round 3 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series for 2024. And the debut of the Sardegna 250. Just a quick recap before we get into 5 laps to go. It is Ridwan Hamza leading the way. Nicholas Pitasso in second, from Ando Scott in third. An impressive performance here from Nick Scott in 4th place. Likewise for Chris Lashbrook in 5th. Ian Ward in 6th. Nico Westlake in 7th. Then we see Matt Campbell in 8th. And then a fair way back is Ryan Palmer in 9th. Wade Von Duve rounding out the top 10. And it looks like Green has parked up for today here. So definitely a race of attrition here. Just 10 cars left running here in the Sardegna 250. We are now down to 5 laps remaining here of the 49 lap race. Unfortunately, the first 20 we couldn't bring to you, but we are here for the final 29 laps. Hamza still holding on to a valuable margin here as the laps wind down through the first sector. Nearly 0.3 of a second up on the fastest lap. Pitasso continues his chase as he drags Scott along for the ride. Though, as I say that, it looks like he is starting to break that gap out a little bit more. But certainly Scott is not too far back that he could not capitalise on any mistake from Patasso. Meanwhile, a big battle going on here for 5th place. Ward has moved into the 5th position ahead of Lashbrook. Lashbrook just catching the barrier after running wide there through the chicane with turns 12 and 13. And I think there's a bit of damage on that vehicle of Lashbrook's, as he has very quickly fallen off the back of Ward down the straight. Now for Lashbrook. May have to watch out in his mirrors as Nico Westlake approaches very rapidly. And if there is any damage on that number 11 MSR Lexus, Westlake will very quickly be all over him in an attempt to take that 6th place. That being said, on that back straight, Nico didn't really close in too much on Lashbrook there, so maybe Lashbrook was just dealing with some dirty tyres there. Certainly, the gap isn't closing enough to indicate that there is any damage at play here. That being said, the gap now really closing in between these two. Just right on the roof cam of Westlake here, as he tries to size up Lashbrook for 6th place in the closing laps of the Sardegna 250. Westlake really closing in to the back of Lashbrook here. Manages that dirty air very nicely on the run to turn 14. And now he's all over the tail of Lashbrook as we head through 15 now onto the pit straight. And Westlake was tucked underneath the rear wing. They go side by side as they head across the finish line. And Westlake comfortably moving ahead of Lashbrook. So Westlake now up into 6th place. Unfortunately for Lashbrook, he has sadly dropped from being inside the top 5 with his substitute performance. However, he is still sitting in a very impressive 7th when you do consider the calibre of driver he is up against here tonight. Certainly no mean feat going up against these drivers and coming away with a 7th place finish. That said, there is still a bit over 5 kilometres left in the race, And Westlake just made a mistake there through turns 12 and 13. And now it is Lashbrook's turn to be all over the back of Westlake as we make the run onto the pit straight. And we'll come across the finish line for the penultimate time to begin our final lap. Lashbrook not close enough to do anything, but Westlake gets a massive slide there through the apex of turn 1, and now Lashbrook all over the back of Westlake. Westlake on the defensive here. Lashbrook trying to go around the outside. Westlake trying to use as much of the track as possible to defend. Gets a big moment of snap oversteer on the exit, and that gives Lashbrook the run he needs to move back into 6th place. So we've got a brilliant battle here for 6th and 7th, but we're going to have to dive away from it as our race leader approaches the final corners of this race here. Round 3 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series, the Sardegna 250. Another impressive drive from our defending champion as he looks to recover from his round 1 DNF and fold himself up the championship order. It will be Ridwan Hamza who comes across the line to take out round 3 here at the Sardegna 250 for the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Patasso comes across the line in 2nd, Scott in 3rd, and it'll be Scott in 4th, Ward 5th, and it looks like Westlake has gotten back ahead of Lashbrook for 6th place on the final lap. So there we have it. The final 29 laps of the Sardegna 250 after we had a red flag at the 20 lap mark of this race. And we'll just bring out our race results there. Of course, Ridwan Hamza taking the race win by nearly 6 seconds over Patasso, who banks a crucial 270 championship points in 2nd place. Of course, Hamza, a crucial 300 points for him to get his championship back on track. Scott, a very well-deserved podium there for him. And after the opening 2 rounds, certainly we'll be happy to see him back on the podium. Likewise, another top 5 result there for Scott and WRT Motorsport. Also well-deserved. And a brilliant fight back there from Ward to get inside the top 5. And 5th and 6th place for MC Motorsport with Westlake in 6th. Our substitute driver in Lashbrook doing a fine job in 7th. And then Matt Campbell rounding out our first page of results in 8th place there. As we jump over to page 2, Ryan Palmer didn't have the best race. Certainly had a few setbacks there along the way, but he did a great job persevering to cross the line in 9th. And of course, Wade Von Duve also picking up a top 10, making sure he gets to the finish line and securing as many points as possible for not only his own points tally in the Drivers' Championship, but also for his own team in WTC Racing. That'll be crucial in the battle for the Teams Championship as well. And then we have our 4 non-finishers there in green: Ladaway, Atkinson capping off a double DNF for KPL Sim Racing, and then Sandwith, unfortunately, the last of our 4 non-finishers there on the list. And of course, our fastest lap of the race coming from Nicholas Patasso in the Lexus RCF with a 1 minute 33.080, just shy of the 132s. So we'll jump over to our Drivers' Championship, and it is a new championship leader for the 3rd time in 3 rounds. It is Nicholas Patasso taking over the championship lead in the Mash Spuds Racing number 32 Lexus. He now has a 49-point lead over Ward in the MC Motorsport Nissan. And then Campbell for CP Motorsports in third place, 61 points back. Scott sitting in P4, 71 back. And then Palmer in the top 5, leading the way for Etz Ifar Racing. But it is Ridwan Hamza just outside the top 5, mounting a comeback. And even with that DNF, he's only 89 points behind. And he'll certainly be looking to push his way into the top 5 next time out. Of course, in the back end of our top 10, the championship standings, got Von Duve, 90 points back. Scott, 131 back. And then Ladaway, who goes from the championship lead to 9th place with that DNF. And Westlake sitting, rounding out the top 10, 181 points back. Then we jump over our team's championship, and it's Mash Spuds Racing who assume the lead of the team's championship, taking over from Kiwi Pitlane Sim Racing after their double DNF. So a 2nd and a 7th sees the MSR Lexus crew jump into the team's championship lead. And it's racing after, or it's FR Racing, I should say, after their DNF early in the season. They are 72 points back. And Ridwan Hamza certainly helping recover some lost ground from earlier on in the season. And then it's WTC Racing, MC Motorsport, CP Motorsports, left to rue a DNF there from Green. And then WRT Motorsport also counting the cost of a DNF there, sitting at the bottom of the table. But 247 points back is not a lot when you think of it, considering there is a maximum of 570 points on offer in each round. So can easily make up that margin in a few races with some good results. So looking ahead on our calendar, of course, our next broadcast will be for the British Sprint at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Of course, by the time this video goes up, we will have run the British Sprint as well. So keep an eye out on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel for our broadcast of both races from Brands Hatch, as the TS3 touring cars take on 2 short 50-kilometre races at Brands Hatch before the main Trackstars Touring Car Series also has a pair of 100-kilometre races where they will fight it out for victory in the British Sprint for round 4 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series for 2024. So make sure you like this video, of course, and then to keep up to date, subscribe to the channel, click that bell to get your notifications so that you can keep up to date with all the broadcasts here on the Trackstars Touring Car Series YouTube channel, where we'll be bringing you all of the action from our free touring car championships across the Trackstars Touring Car Series. So as we bring things to a close here, big thanks for everyone for tuning in here tonight. We hope that you have had an enjoyable time catching the slightly reduced action of the Sardegna 250. Certainly an impressive win there again from Ridwan Hamza, and another fine performance there from Nicholas Patasso as he is starting to get back into his championship winning form. When will we possibly see Patasso break that winning drought? I feel like it is a matter of time before it happens. I feel like it's certainly coming sooner rather than never. And I think as a series will be looking forward to seeing that day come when he does pick up a victory. I think it'll be celebrated across the entire pit garage. But for now, thanks for tuning in tonight with our coverage of the Sardegna 250. My name's Jarman Dallitz. Thanks for joining us here I look forward to seeing you again next time here on the Track Stars Racing Series YouTube channel.